there. My name is Vanessa Barnes, and I'm with Keller Williams Realty at the Lakes and the Barnes team. We've been servicing buyers and sellers in the Central Florida area for 20 years, and it would be an honor and a privilege for our team to help you. If you need anything, please reach out to us at any time. Take care.
Vanessa Barnes on again. She was on, gosh, Vanessa, I think you were on like maybe it was
during COVID.
Yeah, it was at least over a year ago for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So for people that don't know a lot about Vanessa, she's a realtor in that Celebration area, Davenport, Winter Garden, Dr. Phillips, Windermere. Am I missing anywhere else?
I sprinkle it all in Central Florida. We're everywhere.
All right. And she's working for Keller Williams. It's Realty at the Lakes over in Celebration, Florida, right near Disney for people that know that. Vanessa, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and I really appreciate you always giving us some time.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. And hi, everyone out there in the universe. It's an honor to come back on. I was so happy when I got your email to come back on, and I was like, absolutely. We had so much fun the last time. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
We did, and there's always stuff to bring, and I'm sorry that I didn't get you on earlier than this, but I think actually this is the right time because the economic issues in our country feel like they're about to explode. So we can kick a little bit about that in the housing market right now. So let's talk about that. We already told the viewers a little bit about you. You know, can you talk about those areas that you focus on? And we went through them just a second ago. And what's going on as far as those areas, as far as real estate?
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think that there's a lot of noise out there with what's happening in the market, and everyone has an opinion. You know, I always tell my clients and my agents on my team, what's important is what's happening really local, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what's happening in my market might not necessarily be what's happening in, say, Rhode Island, right? In that market, or in New York, or in California. So it's very important for someone that's looking in our area to find someone that's local and an expert. You know, with 21 years in the business, I've certainly seen a lot of real estate cycles. So, you know, we definitely have some perspective for our clients in terms of what is happening. I mean, we can kind of jump into what is happening locally if you want to do that.
Well, I want to talk about the interest rate issue for, you know, and obviously, you know, we're having that, you know, you can look at, you know, we're buying a house. You can look at credit card issues, student loan issues. Obviously, right now, we're going to focus on real estate issues with this. So with the interest rates going up, this could make it really tough for people that are normal working people, people that are maybe a little bit over middle class, maybe at the middle class, buy houses. A lot of people I hear are looking for rentals instead of buying that new house. You know, how is the interest rate really affected that you've seen in the market where you work in Central Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we definitely saw when the interest rates started going up, right, at the end of last year, we definitely did see a slowdown in the market, right? We saw a lot of buyers that were hesitant and reluctant to jump in because they weren't sure what was happening with the interest rates. And actually, I just got a notification that interest rates just went down again. And that's why I said it's really important to kind of cut out the noise of what's happening and look at, you know, what is that client specific situation in buying a home? Because we always say buying is so much better than renting. You are going to build more wealth through real estate than you will ever as a renter, right? So even though interest rates have gone up, we honestly haven't seen, even though we saw a little bit of a decline in sales, we are still seeing homes coming on the market, homes being sold. So it's not really affecting us that much. And actually, I pulled the statistic, and our median price of homes in Central Florida really haven't gone down that much. We're only talking a couple $1,000s month over month. So we're really not seeing that significant reduction I think that people were expecting when the interest rates spiked.
But what about the cooling of the market? I mean, you were working obviously during this market and COVID, all these people from New York, Brazil, every place in the United States. I remember we were speaking about it. We're trying to come down to Florida because of, you know, there was less restrictions, obviously the low taxes. Things have changed, obviously, since that time. With the hurricanes, the home insurance is sky high. The government hasn't really worked on that in the state of Florida. But regardless of that, what about the cooling off issues that people are still maybe selling houses, but they're not getting those big profits that we were seeing, before COVID and during COVID?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the pricing strategy for the clients right now. We are still seeing multiple offers. We're still
Okay.
seeing that. We are seeing homes that are priced right to sell, still getting those multiple offers. We just had a property in Auburndale actually that had 11 offers on the table,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So in my mind, what I do is I educate my clients and I explain to them, look, the market isn't, you're not going to get 100,000 with no appraisal, giving away their child, giving away 2 dogs, right? Or annual passes to Disney, right? We're not seeing that now. And yet we are still seeing homes that have the right pricing strategy are still selling quickly. Just to put it into context, so if you think of last year around the same time, we had under a month supply of homes. So we did see a bump up. We are around 2 month supply of homes, right? So we are seeing a little bit of increase in inventory. We are seeing longer days on the market. We're seeing around 60 days on average on the market. But again, if it's priced right, the home will move.
Listen,
That's the bottom line.
and sorry to interrupt you, Vanessa.
It's okay.
And for people listening, again, Vanessa Barnes, you can contact her if you're in Central Florida looking for some sort of real estate, buying, maybe a fixer-upper to, flip, whatever it may be. It's Vanessa at barnesteamfl.com. Again, barnesteamfl.com, Vanessa Barnes. And we're going to talk about the website and all that stuff where they can find you later on in the broadcast. I want to talk
Sure.
about this because obviously, going back to the economy, and I feel like maybe you'll give me the same answer you gave about the interest rates, but let me just throw this at you just in case. We've
Right.
just seen in the past 2 months about 3 banks fail. Actually, 3 banks fail is correct. We're looking at maybe this week and next week seeing another 2 or 3 fail. People are getting, and I'm sure we both feel the same way, and a lot of people in America feel this way. They're getting worried that the banking system could be on the verge of collapse when we keep seeing bank after bank after bank fail or being bailed out and sold. Do you think that's really going to come into your neck of the woods and people saying, hey, listen, we're worried about this stuff, whether it's interest rates, whether it's the banking industry just failing in general? We're really worried as Americans, and we can't really, afford to really jump into this now.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because if I think back to, since I've had a 21-year stint in real estate, this also happened. It's so interesting that the cycles repeat themselves because a lot of the same things happened back in 07, 08. We had banks failing, the government bailing out banks and all the things that are happening. So it sounds very familiar, and I'm gonna fight the normality here, if you will. And I'm gonna go back to my perspective on buying and selling homes. People always need a place to live, and there's always going to be things external that are happening. And what I like to do with my clients is let's look at your personal situation of what's happening with you at that moment. Yes, we do have to be aware and concerned about those things. And yet we can't let it create an environment in which we don't make decisions because we're worried about what's happening externally, right? If you need to move, move. If you need to buy, buy. It's really client specific, just like the market is specific, right? There are events that happen in our personal lives, child, death, divorce, marriage, kids, whatever. Things are going to happen, and you have to do when it feels right to you and it feels good inside in your heart, then take action, right? And yes, that is a concern, and I do have conversations in and around that. And yet I always like to bring it back to the fact that that's great, but let's focus on you, the individual, the person, and how we can help you get to that. Because again, being a renter versus being a homeowner, you are 40% more wealthy than you will ever be as a renter. That is huge. That's huge.
And the rents are so high now, it's just disgusting.
Well, and that's a conversation too, because the rents are still going up.
Yeah.
And what's great about a mortgage, unless you have an insurance or tax change, your principal and interest is going to remain the same. So that will not fluctuate. So you don't have to worry about your taxes going up or your payment going up $500 unless the taxes, of course, or insurance goes up, depending on where you're at. That can happen because as you mentioned, we're seeing that with the insurance. And yet you have something that you're building wealth upon.
Vanessa, I want to hit into the construction, driving up
Mm,
27 in Four Corners, Davenport area. There's apartments going up all the time. There's
yeah.
the townhouses
I
going
knew
up.
you were going to bring this up because we talked about this last time, the traffic on I-4.
Well, traffic on I-4 going from Celebration to Tampa and getting off near that Champions Gate area is a freaking disaster all the
It's a
time. People
nightmare.
getting on from Disney in that area going towards Champions Gate is a disaster. They really need to fix
Yeah,
that. They're supposed to be, but God knows when that's going to happen. But
they're working
regardless,
on it. Yeah.
yeah, they're working on it. All right. Regardless, I
10
do
years
want to give,
later, they're still working on it, but
yeah, 20
whatever.
years later, like the I-4 project. Anyways,
If you
they
have me
did
on
get,
10 years from now, I'm still going to look like this. Okay. So we're just saying, I'm going to have work done. No, I'm kidding.
oh, jeez. All right. Well, let's get back to business because I don't want to be talking about those issues. We'll get back into the game here. But
Yeah.
talking about the construction in Four Corners, which is really booming.
Yep.
Also, you go down Avalon Road. I know you deal in this neck of the woods too.
Yep.
I had a family member that passed away in 16. He lived in a Winter Garden. You could fly down Avalon Road. We're not, telling people the speed, but you know
Yes.
what I'm saying. There was
Yeah, I
nothing down
know.
that road, just
Nothing.
straight up orange groves, and that was it until you hit Winter Garden. Now there's houses, there's resorts, there's apartments, there's everything in the
Yeah.
kitchen sink there. With that said, are you worried about that though? Because, I know we don't want to think like this and be negative, and I know you're on the optimistic side.
No, really? Okay.
But, but for instance, if we do have a 2008 crash again
Mm,
here in 2023 or 2024, there's so much construction going on in these houses, apartments, and townhouses being built. With all that inventory, the prices are just going to end up being tanked, or those houses will just be vacant for an extremely long time. Houses, apartments, whatever it is. So, you worried about that?
I'm really not. And
No.
it might be because I have a different perspective because I've already been through that cycle. I
Mhm.
think for buyers, sellers, agents that haven't experienced that, they don't see the beyond the crash or beyond the adjustment. They just think this is the here and now. I know real estate has appreciated. I posted on my social media. I want to say it was like 428% over the last like 60 or 70 years. I have to go back to my social media posts, but there is so much value in owning a home. And yes, it is going to get tough for people. I'm not going to
Mhm.
sugarcoat that, right? Because I would cry at people's tables. They're losing their homes. They don't know where their family's going to go. There is a raw, perspective there to when someone loses their home, right? Will we see that to the capacity that we did in 07, 08, 2009 in that range? It's hard to say.
Sure.
I think if interest rates perhaps go up higher, I think we might see some more adjusting. But even with the interest rates doubling year over year, we haven't really seen the reduction of the prices yet. Again, I am not an economist. I just watch what my local numbers are doing, and I'm just not seeing it at this moment. Yes, I do have concerns because I remember back during the last recession we had, I remember driving through Avalon Winter Garden and the homes just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I always said you didn't hear a nail in a roof. It was there, no new construction, no nothing. The great thing for buyers right now in our market is that builders are offering incentives again. So
Mhm.
they have inventory and they're trying to pull you in now with either a reduction in your interest rate, like a buy down in your interest rate, or maybe you can even get a little bit off the price, right? So I'm not overly concerned because I've already been through this cycle. I already understand what to expect and how to coach and counsel my clients.
I was always told when you're selling a home, don't do the whole house over again because somebody's going to want it different. They have different tastes. We're all different. So we all like different things. Is that true? Is it just like you fix up maybe a little bit in the kitchen, maybe the bathroom, and that's about it? I hear that a lot also. Is that what you would recommend for somebody selling?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of a loaded question, so I will answer it in an indirect kind of way because I do think
Yeah,
it's very
generalize it.
specific. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think from a general perspective, I think it's a case by case basis. I would say if you want maximum dollar for your home and you're in a desirable neighborhood, then you probably want to look at doing some upgrades or offering an allowance for people to do maybe some modifications to the home, right?
Hmm.
Now, if 2 years ago, in the last year or so, between that COVID period, you could probably have anything and sell it for $100,000 or more, right? But people are looking for what's the age of the roof? What's the age of the air conditioner? And they're asking for credits and repairs more so than they were before because they can. There's more inventory to choose from.
But is that
So
also to do with the hurricane issue? Sorry to interrupt you, Vanessa.
oh no, you're fine. No, absolutely it is because I'm not an insurance I'm not that insurance is not my lane.
Yeah.
But what I hear from insurance companies is that there's more on the roof. Like if that roof exceeds a certain age, it has to be replaced, for them to be able to sell it. So again, that's an insurance person. You might want to have an insurance company on because I think there's a lot of questions surrounding what's happening in that realm, in that space. But I will say roofs are a big, big issue right now.
And for people listening, this is Vanessa Barnes. You can find more about her by emailing her. It's Vanessa at barnesteamfl.com. Again, Vanessa at barnesteamfl.com and find more about her. Vanessa, let's go to these last two questions. For people that are looking into, and this is kind of an audience question, which I kind of formed into my own question. We've talked about the we've talked about the market, but also, the inventory and people buying. This person's asking about should they wait to buy a house if they're in Florida? This person does live in Central Florida, actually. And they're asking about waiting because they're saying that, listen, we all aren't Nostradamus, and so we don't know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, the next day. But, with all the things we spoke about throughout the beginning of the interview, if those bad things do continue to happen or do happen in general, the market could tank where someone could scoop in and maybe get, depending on obviously their financials, come in and buy one or two houses for maybe the price of one. So what would you tell somebody that's kind of thinking ahead that way?
Yeah, I would say again, let's look at the personal situation. If you can qualify now, then and you're in a position to be able to buy, I would say buy now. Why? We can't predict the future, yes. And yet we know what's happened in the past. And what happened in the past was COVID created this crunch on inventory and prices rose. So I'm going to flip this on the audience that asked this question. What if we don't go down and we only go up? And we're a year from now and the prices are 6%, 7%, 10% higher than they are, right? Then you're buying even more expensive, right? I would rather say, can you qualify now and buy? And just as long as it's in your comfort, like you're comfortable making the payment, even if the economic factors, if all that stuff occurs, if you could still make your payment, why not buy? Because when you're renting, who are you making rich?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right.
Apartment complex, and I mean, and again, that's why I'm very clear on it's really client specific, right? I look at each client situation. Our team looks at each client's scenarios and says, okay, maybe you should wait. Maybe you don't have enough in savings or you don't have enough reserves. Okay, then you wait. But I'm going to flip it and say, what if prices go up?
Yeah. I just want to ask you this because I just thought of that. I know I said that was kind of the last question, but just to kind of flip the script for a second and ask you one more question.
Go for it.
We talked about the markets that you deal with specifically in Central Florida. What are the other the hot markets? I guess my Northeastern accent is getting in the way.
I love it though.
I'm saying hot instead of hot. Anyways, what are the hot markets that you're seeing right now? Maybe some that you work in, or maybe some that you're not working.
That is a great question. I was actually asked this question by a client yesterday that's looking to move down, buy a second home here. And she asked me kind of a similar question. And I said, there's two areas that we're watching very closely. One is Claremont, and the other one is St. Cloud. Okay. Those areas, I feel, just like kind of Davenport Champions Gate exploded in the last 10 years, I think those are the areas to watch. They're going to explode.
Is St. Cloud because there's a lot of land over there? Is that why?
Yes. So much land there. And also Tavistock, the developer that helped start and build out Laureate Park, created another kind of community down Narcoossee Road in St. Cloud. So that area is just exploding. A lot because they have land out there. What a great location. 192 is right there. You can go right to the beach, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne Beach, right there. So I think, to me, those are the two hot areas to watch, is Claremont and St. Cloud.
My opinion, the only problem is with all these people moving in is the taxes are going to go up, but that's me.
I'm like, more people to marry, more houses for me to sell, more clients.
Well, that's good for you, but it's not good for the tax structure. But because you're gonna have to build more schools.
One more thing about Claremont, which I think is really interesting, is they are going to have that road that goes from Highway 27 to Avalon. So people that work at Disney will be able to migrate and go right across from 27.
I never saw that one before. Is that built? Or is that being built?
It's in the process of being built. D.R. Horton is building a community there, an active adult community, and they're helping, do the road. I don't know exactly who's going to bridge the gap between it, and yet that will go.
Is that near the Walmart where they have all that? There's like a couple
in that general area. Yes, in that general vicinity, it will happen there. So it's going to be really great. And I think that's why Claremont has become so popular, is because there's going to be a quick access to Disney there.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I left I left about a week before Easter. I didn't see any of that built, but you're saying that.
You got to go through Serenoa. So there's D.R. Horton.
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll have to check it out when I get back down there in June. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry that I lost my train. Anyways, we'll end on that. Again, for people listening, and I hope you stuck with us throughout this conversation. It's Vanessa Barnes. She's a realtor. It's Keller Williams Realty at the Lakes over in Celebration. It's Vanessa at barnesteamfl.com. Vanessa, first of all, thanks so much for your time again. I look forward to doing this pretty soon, I guess. Well, hopefully it's not too soon, because that would mean that we are in some really bad straits. So soon, but not too soon, we'll say.
Of course.
We love seeing you, but we don't want to see you too soon yet. But as we end, can you tell people where they can follow you on social media? We did say the email address and where you work, but other places where they can look into your products and houses that you're selling in general.
Sure. You can find us on Facebook and IG at the Barnes Real Estate Team. So that's the Barnes Real Estate Team.
Vanessa Barnes. I said it right for the first time in this interview. I wish you had interrupted me. I would have corrected myself, but that's par for the course, I guess. And we'll end there. But again, Vanessa Barnes here on Fire Breathing Rob. And again, for people that want to email her or find more about her, it's Vanessa at barnesteamfl.com. It's BARNES. And definitely check her out. I'm getting tongue-tied, so I'm going to shut up now and end the conversation. But Vanessa, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time and giving your audience insight on what's happening here in Central Florida.